This one is different. Welcome back to my channel, and if you've never been here before, don't know what you're doing here. There are better channels. I shouldn't talk like that, but I am, so here we are. Happy December. I'm not a Vlogmas participant. Well, I mean, I have been in the past. My Vlogmas, I do Vlogmas differently. But I did want to get in the holiday spirit because the fact of the matter is, these are Christmas gifts. Santa's hiding all the good shit. My children have essentially been watching the same 3 Christmas movies for the past about 3 weeks. We've been watching Home Alone, Home Alone 2, and The Santa Claus. And when you see the same damn thing over and over again for days and days and days on end, you become a little more analytical about it than maybe you were in the past. And I've done a video like this similarly in the past about Full House. Although, while rewatching it to make sure there was nothing offensive in it so that I could recommend it, I actually had a few more questions about Full House, so maybe I'll come back to that another time. This one is all the things I want to know about Home Alone 2. Really quickly before we get into the video, please subscribe if you haven't already. My analytics tell me that most of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would like it if you were subscribed. So like, you know, let's get into it. Now, if you've never seen Home Alone 2, who are you and what are you doing? The second installment in the Home Alone series, the first 2 being the only ones that actually matter.
Sorry, French Stewart.
And instead of being left at home, Kevin McAllister boards a plane mistakenly to New York City while his family is boarding a plane to Florida. Before I start, I want to preface that I love these movies. Maybe a little less now because I've been watching them non-stop for like 12 to 14 hours a day for a significant amount of time, but just the same, they're classics and I love them. I want to know how we messed up something very simple. In the first Home Alone, Kevin McAllister is a lovable 8-year-old, and in Home Alone 2, Kevin McAllister is a lovable 10-year-old. However, it is stated several times that this movie, the sequel, takes place the next year. So somehow, over the course of 12 months, Kevin McAllister ages 2 years. I know that's an easy one, it's just an oversight on the part of the writer, but kind of seems like a big one. Also, kind of referencing the first one, you can kind of see that Kevin is, if you look at it from an analytical standpoint as an adult, being kind of emotionally abused. You could argue that this boy, the beginning of that movie that involves Kevin and his parents, is through his sort of POV, but it does seem sort of third person. The moment when Kevin says,
"Everyone in this family hates me,"
and then his mom, the great Catherine O'Hara, says,
"Then maybe you should ask Santa for a new family."
Like she doesn't deny it. It's a moment of punishment, so I guess it is what it is. But that being said, the next year things don't seem to be better. But you would think after you left your son alone on accident, I don't know, you might treat him better. This is something I feel like I was one of the first people to point out. And I know that's like a huge dumb thing to say because there's no way of knowing that, and also like I probably wasn't. But at least in my circle of people, my Facebook, my Twitter, stuff like that, I feel like I was one of the first people to point out that I would love to know what the McAllisters did for a living, because wow, do they have money. That house, which I believe is in Evanston, Illinois. I am from Illinois. I've never actually gone up there. I know it's there, it's still there. The amount of money alone that the trip cost, because they're covering it all. All of the parents were flying first class, easily shelling out $120 for pizza that they had in cash, which I guess, you know, in the 90s and maybe still today, I don't know, I haven't taken a vacation in like 20 years. When I was young and in the 90s, people carried a lot of cash when they would leave because using debit cards and credit cards wasn't as, we didn't do it as regularly then as we do now. Kevin's mom is trying to get home to him, and she's trying to work something out with the airline. She actually asked them, well, what about a private plane? And that would be wildly costly. Now I know you're trying to get home to your son and anything goes, but that's a lot of money to charter a private plane. I just want to know what they did for a living. That's so much money. I know I just made a bunch of points about the first one, but in the second one as well, the following year to take everybody on a trip to Florida, plus all the money spent to fly all of these people again to New York. His dad has like the gall to like freak out about him spending almost $1,000 in room service, which for like a few days is, it's a lot. That's a lot of money. I too would be angry. However, it seems like they've got it. Why did the Plaza Hotel allow Kevin McAllister to check in without filling out any forms and without an adult? I worked in the hospitality industry. In fact, I worked for the chain of hotels that owned the Plaza Hotel. I wasn't a hotel goer in the 90s. In fact, I was 6 when this movie came out. Technically, them letting him stay in the hotel unchecked without his father present and running that credit card was illegal. To further my previous point, the Plaza Hotel is wildly expensive. I worked at a hotel that was part of the chain that owned the Plaza Hotel. Owns currently, as far as I know. And with our discount, and we got deep discounts, with our discount it was still today like roughly $250 a night, which isn't for New York City, like that's fair I guess now, but like that was with our discount, which was a big discount, which leads me again to wonder, what did they do for a living that they were essentially approved for this lengthy stay? How does Kevin McAllister meet so many people who are willing to open up about their family turmoil? And also, how does he have a perfect metaphor for all of them? Catherine O'Hara and Tim Curry are both absolute legends and icons and treasures that we should all treasure. She should have smacked the absolute shit out of him for attempting to catch and scare her child instead of simply alerting someone immediately. I know those two things aren't necessarily coinciding, but it doesn't make either one of them false. So our villains, Harry and Marv, intend to rob a toy store because they're not going to deposit their cash because they're closing Christmas Eve and no banks will be open when they close. That being said, as someone who worked in a large retail chain, it was Blockbuster, okay, right outside of Times Square, and we were busy, open to close, made a lot of money. I highly doubt that anyone who manages a store in general, particularly one in New York City, where there is always people, and there's always something going on. I highly doubt they would leave cash in the register and in a giant see-through chest instead of perhaps putting it in a safe until they can deposit the cash after Christmas. Just seems like poor planning. This isn't necessarily something I want to know, it's just something I want to point out. One of my favorite lines in Home Alone 2, it's pretty bad that this is my favorite line, but it makes me laugh every time because of Joe Pesci's delivery, yelling up a building.
Nothing would thrill me more greatly than to shoot you.
Not that I condone it, it just makes me laugh. Even with Kevin busting out the window to catch the bad guys and set off the alarm to the toy store to alert the police that these men are robbing the store, which could have just been done with a phone call, I suppose, in the end. They were already criminals on the run. What's the point of chasing Kevin? What is the point of trying to catch him instead of just making off with the money that you stole? Like, you're already criminals on the run. You're not really in any different position. People just know that you did this now. So fucking go. Don't worry about the kid. He already knows you did it. You already know you did it. Everyone else is already gonna know you did it. Just go. We don't have to make a meal of it. Save yourself several bricks to the head. Save yourself a blowtorch haircut. Just go. Harry and Marv should be dead. Period. Marv gets hit with bricks from a great distance in the head. He falls face first at a great distance into a floor of cement. He gets electrocuted, like full body electrocuted. The point is they should be dead. I mean, let's be serious. And on that note, Kevin McAllister is probably in prison now, right? Like, if Kevin McAllister grew up, if he was a real person and he grew up, like, he'd definitely be in prison by now, right? Like, I know Harry and Marv are criminals and they got what was coming to them and all that good stuff, but like, Kevin was it's jarring how quickly he was able to put together a plan and violently attack his attackers. It's quite scary. I wonder if Kevin forgot about the pigeon lady after his father strangled him for spending $967.43 on room service, which again seems like chump change to the McAllisters. And I've got a few honorable mentions. The wet bandits / the sticky bandits telling the police every time what their motivation is and what they did, but not only that, but for also telling Kevin while they've captured him and they're walking around in public streets with a child they've just kidnapped and telling this kid for no reason except for exposition exactly what their nefarious plans are. I also want to give a shout out to the fact that Kevin knows his way around New York City as if he were Carrie fucking Bradshaw. Also, when he first arrives in New York City, the journey he takes from, you know, Chinatown to the World Trade Center to, where else does he go? All of these things likely would have taken him about a day and a half to accomplish, especially with not knowing a city that he has not ever been to before this occasion. Uncle Frank. Why do we tolerate Uncle Frank? That's all. I want to know why we tolerate him. He is insufferable in both movies. She is just the worst. I know he's supposed to be. I get that. Like, I would have fucking left that motherfucker at home.
Because fuck that guy.
Son of a bitch. I don't like Uncle Frank. Offer me a shrimp cocktail. Offer you a shrimp cocktail. And finally, I want to know if we're gonna eventually censor Donald Trump out of this family classic. Because nothing can ruin a family like Donald Trump. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you liked this video, please feel free to give it a like. If you didn't like this video, fuck off. I don't know if I liked this video. I don't really care. I wanted to make it. I had some things to get off my chest. And you know what? I did. So, toys. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I make videos whenever the hell I feel like it. Happy holiday season for whatever holiday you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate any holidays at all. Just happy December. That's all.